Hello, Chain Gang, and welcome back to the Four Chains Travel. 2 weeks ago, we explained how we can afford to be full-time travelers. And in last week's video, we talked about the best credit cards to use for full-time travel if you want to stay in fancy hotels, if you want to fly business class, and do those things on a budget.
I like all those things.
I think we all like all of those things. This week, we're going to tackle one of the biggest questions in the full-time travel community, and that is whether it is better to use Chase or Amex transferable currency. And for those of you that are new to the channel, we publish every Friday morning at 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, except during the week of Christmas, which is family time. Also, if we're on a repositioning cruise, we probably won't be posting weekly then because of the crappy Wi-Fi. Also, when Jim plays the World Series of Poker in the summer,
I'm excited.
He will be posting more frequently because he'll post on the days that he's not playing, which tends to be every other day, especially in the beginning, until he starts really raking in that cash at the end.
That's right.
So some people are surprised that we engage when there are questions asked that questions or comments that might be contrary to things we've said in the video, but we feel like it's an important dialogue to have, and we have a pretty thick skin. So we do answer those questions, and we think it's constructive to do so. So today, before we get into the main part of the video, we'll quickly address some of the issues that came up with last week's video on credit cards.
Yes, please give your comments. If they're supportive, that's great. If you feel like we got something wrong, bring that up so we can discuss it and get everybody doing the right things. One of the things that was mentioned is for people that are real points and miles nerds, and I mean that in a good way because those people do really well. There were some intricate trees pointed out where you go here and you go here and you can get a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of points. But the overwhelming percentage of you out there, that's just way too complicated to recreate. It's way too much work for the bang for your buck that you're getting. And we just favor simple strategies that we know that you can follow. Number two, this is sort of a catch-all for several comments, which is that we're not rich. Right? There are some great, particularly podcasts for people that are rich. And let me give you a point on one of those that was brought up. It was pointed out that one of the things that we say is transferable currency is better than cash back. Mm-hmm. That is true in 99% of the case, but one of the things was brought up, there's a card that a bank issues that it's a 2% cash back card, but if you leave $100,000 in the bank account, it doubles the cash back and you get 4%. Yeah, that's better than transferable currency. I personally cannot put $100,000 and just leave it sitting in a bank account so I can get more points. If you can, there are other podcasts to do. We don't recommend moves to you that we don't do. And
I'd also like to point out along those lines that frequently when he's talking about people with a lot of money that are able to do something like that, that typically is a case where it's somebody who has a business, because obviously there can be tons of expenses involved in businesses. So and that means a business that's not a sole proprietor situation, doing a little side gig. That's like you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I would say a much more legitimate criticism, if you want to call it that, is of when we made the claim that it is better to take free nights than use points. Mm-hmm. Well, it is for us because we are spending almost all of next year in either Europe or Las Vegas, where the hotel rooms are really high and they cost 60,000 points. Sometimes a little bit less, but sometimes a little bit more. So that's why we took the days on our IHG Premier, for instance, that Angie took. We got 5 free nights up to 60,000 points a night. So that could be 300,000 points.
Right.
But people pointed out, if you're going to Southeast Asia, you'd rather have the points. They're right. I should have mentioned that. If you're going to Kuala Lumpur or Vietnam or Thailand, absolutely. You've got rooms there that are 6,000, 8,000 points. And in that case, you'd rather have 140,000 points than 5 free nights.
Mm-hmm. We know that there are some big advantages to only focusing on the positive side of things in terms of getting views and subscribers, because naturally people want to hear a lot of great stuff and don't want to necessarily be warned of the dangers and pitfalls of things. So that's kind of why we try to issue out a little spoonful of sugar before the medicine. But in this case, I've just gone through a really rough experience with Chase and trying to get my IHG card. So I'm going to find it difficult to deliver some.
Yeah, it's been rough. She didn't even want to be in this video at all just because of this.
So I'm going to take a break and let Jim really get into the nitty gritty of that stuff. And I might chime in later.
Okay, so the main event on today's video is Chase Ultimate Rewards versus Amex Membership Rewards. Chase is anchored by the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and of course, Amex is anchored by the Amex Platinum. Now, there have been some opinions on other podcasts that I've listened to and YouTube channels, but those are channels from a different viewpoint, as we said, where people are wealthy. If your story starts, hey, I spend $30,000 a month on credit cards and this is what I do, that's a different crowd. That is really easy. If you spend that much, I can tell you what to do right now. You don't need a YouTube channel because all you want to do is get sign-up bonuses. Let me explain. So when we talk about the Amex Gold, you get 4 times points on dining, 4 times points on restaurants, and that's amazing. But no matter what point multiplier you ever get on a card, it will never equal the return on any of these. Hopefully I'm putting up a graphic right here that I had time to make. It'll never equal the return on sign-up bonuses. Those are always dominant. We're not rich, so what we do is we space out our cards so we don't have to spend any money that we would not have spent to meet the minimum spend to get a sign-up bonus. You know what I'm saying? If you're spending $30,000 a month, yeah, start with Chase. You start with Chase because it's a 5-24 rule. You can only get 5 personal Chase cards in 24 months. Then you go to Amex. There are other transferable currencies, but I don't think there's any debate that the 2 best are Chase and American Express. But if you're going to get a jillion cards, start with Chase till you're maxed out, then go to American Express, and then you can do Citi Thank You, then you can do Capital One, then you can even do Bilt, and then by then 24 months has passed and you can start to get some more Chase cards. I am talking about how you can have nice hotels, nice flights, and it can be on a budget. And speaking of budget, there are 2 golden rules. Every time we're telling you how you save money on flights or hotels and we're doing the math for you, explaining why it's a good deal, it always assumes 2 things. And if you follow these, no matter what your budget, you're going to be fine. Golden rule number 1 is the clean spend rule. Yes, in general, it's don't spend money that you would not have spent to meet a sign-up bonus. Don't buy things that you would not have bought to meet an offer. Before we got American Express Platinum, we looked it up. We spent almost $600 the previous year on streaming services. I think it was $580. Once we got the Amex Platinum, we had $240 of that reimbursed, but we were being reimbursed for streaming services that we would get even if we did not have the card. One of the comments that was made is that we didn't mention anything about the $300 Equinox credit. Well, Equinox is a great gym, but the minimum Equinox membership, at least here where I live, is $400. You get a $300 credit, you're still paying $100 a month. We currently go to Planet Fitness. For both of us, we only pay $30 a month. So if we went to Equinox, we would be spending money we would not have spent if we had that plan. Of course, if you're already going to Equinox, this would be a clean spend for you, but it's not for us. Golden rule number 2, and this is really critical. The math only works if you pay off the credit cards every month and do not carry a balance. If you carry a balance, you are going to pay interest on that balance, and that completely changes the math. That's way too complicated to do. I don't really think you should be spending money on a credit card that you can't pay off that month anyways. So don't sign up for a card or a minimum spend unless your particular situation means that you're going to be able to meet that minimum spend. Okay, let's start with the Chase Ultimate Rewards Universe and the Chase Sapphire Reserve. The fee for Chase Sapphire Reserve is $550. Now, I know people that will not even pay a $95 fee, and like the IHG Premier, we got way over $1,000 worth of free hotel rooms for that $99. So would you rather have a free card and pay $1,000 for hotels, or pay $95 for a card and get the hotels for free? Don't be scared of fees. Let's look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve. You get $300 travel credit. If you're a traveler at all, if you're not, you're probably not watching this, but if you travel at all, it's going to be very easy to get that $300 travel credit. They don't make it hard to dot the I's and cross the T's. So you have that. They have global entry if you don't already have the Amex Platinum, or if your spouse has the Amex Platinum and uses it for global entry, now you can get the global entry. That takes part of it. The rest of it can kind of be absorbed by using the Uber credits or the Lyft credits. You can get credits on that and in the Amex universe. And then, of course, there's the sign-up bonus. Right now, it's offering $60,000 if you Google it. Never Google a sign-up bonus. Always get a referral, either for us or from family or friends. Typically, we do not get any sort of bonus ourselves. If we do, we let it know. But like Joey, who is a watcher, hey Joey, if you're watching this, we put him in the Amex Platinum. The advertisement is $80,000 right now. He got $150,000. We did not get any referral for that. David got the Amex Gold. He got, I think, 100,000 points. We didn't get anything from that. We're just trying to be helpful here, but never Google and just take the minimum sign-up bonus. But $4,000 minimum spend for Chase Sapphire Reserve, that's pretty good. You get 3 months to do that. You get Chase Sapphire Lounge access. If you live in a place that has Chase Sapphire lounges, those are really nice lounges, and that's a nice benefit. But they do have lots of travel coverage. They do have lots of insurances. One thing I would say that the Chase universe beats Amex on is the rewards can be shared with your P2 or with a family member or a partner, and you cannot do that with Amex. There are certain situations where that can really come in handy. If you're trying to buy a business class trip and you need 100,000 miles and you only have 90,000 in your account, with Chase, you can take $10,000 and transfer it over. You can't do that for Amex, so that's a big one. A lot of people complain about the 524 rule, and I'm certainly one of them, but there's a couple of things that make that palatable, at least to me, at least as somebody who's not signing up for 2 or 3 cards a month. But if you're smart, you can scurry that rule by applying for business cards, because business cards do not count towards the 524. One of the great things about Chase is that it has a one-to-one transfer for Hyatt. Hyatt is the only hotel that I would ever take a transferable point and transfer it to a hotel. Normally, you want to do those with airlines or Taylor Swift tickets or something like that. Don't do it for hotels unless it's Hyatt, because Hyatt points are the most popular and the most valuable, and that can reach you globalist status. So if you really want to be globalist with Hyatt, I think the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Chase Universe is just absolutely mandatory. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about with valuable. Right now, we got a comment, oh, look, the Hilton card, you get 175,000 Hilton Honors points. I would say that's about 25,000 Hyatt points approximately. Put in the comments if you think it's a different calculation. But if you look at the Hilton hotels and how many points you need a night to get there, it's a lot. You do not get much bang for your buck. So Chase is really the way to go there. Another reason to do Chase, as we mentioned, the lounges are great. Chicago is where my friend John Caputo, that's his home base. There is no Amex lounge in Chicago, so Chase Sapphire might be that. But there's also airline hubs. San Francisco is a Delta hub. So if you live there, you probably want to get the Chase Delta card. If you live in Los Angeles, like my daughter, or Orlando or Phoenix, then you want the Chase Southwest Airlines card because you're probably flying Southwest a lot. The Chase IHG Premier and the Chase World of Hyatt were really hard to get, but the bonuses are so good. To me, it's worth it if you can just forget about the customer service. One of the criticisms that I've heard of Chase cards is there's a lot of them, but there's only a few that are transferable points. That's sort of true, but there's an easy way around that, because although it is true you cannot take non-transferable points, you can't take non-transferable points and move them into a transferable currency. So in other words, like if you take Chase cards and put them into Hyatt, and then all of a sudden you decide not to use it for that particular stay, you cannot take them from Hyatt and put them back into Chase. And that stinks. But let me tell you something that you can do. You can take Chase points from a card that's not transferable as long as you have a transferable point card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve or Freedom Unlimited and Freedom Business. You can transfer those to a transferable card. So let me give you an example. The base Chase Freedom Unlimited, it has a $20,000 sign-up bonus and they're not transferable. So a lot of people are like, I'll never do that. But if you look a little bit closer, there's no annual fee for Chase Freedom Unlimited. And the minimum spend is only $500, and there's some points multipliers. So let's say you get 3 times points on groceries as an example. You spend the $500 on that, you get 1,500 points. So now you have 21,500 points. Now you transfer those points into your Chase Sapphire Reserve, and all of a sudden they are Chase Ultimate Rewards points. So there is a workaround to that. The business cards, I might as well deal with this question before you put it in the comments. People say I don't have a business. Let me explain to you exactly what a business is in the credit card world. It is engaging in activity with the intent to profit from that activity. You do not have to be incorporated. You don't need an LLC or any of that. You don't even have to have an EIN number. You don't have to realize a profit. You can have a YouTube channel, even if you're not monetized. You can sell baseball cards on eBay. You can sell clothing on Facebook Marketplace, whatever. As long as you are engaging in activity with an intent to profit, that is a business. So I don't see having a 524 rule is a big hindrance for somebody with my budget. I'll tell you what is a big problem. And that is that in 2024, they had a data breach. And late in 2024, the way they dealt with that was really rough. And I asked a banker in person, and we'll get to why I asked a banker in person pretty soon, whether they think that things will change in 2025, and he said that he doesn't think that they will. So combining a data breach with legendarily bad customer service is really brutal. So your information got compromised if you already had a Chase card, and that is a problem. But when you call to deal with anything Chase, you will notice that the person on the other line almost all of the time struggles to speak English. Now, I'm not like, America, you better speak English. I'm not one of those guys. But I do want to say this. It is clear that they use some sort of voice recognition technology, or they have like a chart where if they say this, you say this. Because when you talk to them, lots of times their response will make you shake your head because it's very clear that they had no idea what you were talking about. I applied for the World of Hyatt card. I have a credit score of 842. This is a base card. I should have gotten I should have gotten approved instantaneously, but I'm calling the call centers and I'm really struggled to talking with them. Now, I understand the business. If you can pay somebody in another country $2 an hour, that's a huge saving. So I understand why they do it, but there are consequences to that. It was really, really frustrating. And my first attempt at World of Hyatt, I wound up giving up on it. And then I applied for the Amex Platinum, which with a $695 membership fee should be the hardest card to get approved for. I filled out a form in 5 minutes, and the next day I had my card. And that's a big difference from all of the time I spent on World of Hyatt trying to get approved. And I know that Angie left, but she's got a lot of stuff to get off her chest on the IHG thing. So I'm going to try to get her back here at least to tell her IHG story, because it's very similar to my World of Hyatt story.
So my IHG story is very similar to his World of Hyatt story. They're both Chase cards, and as he already mentioned, this is all a result of the data breach that Chase had. When I applied for the IHG card, I had a credit rating also over 830. I had my house totally paid off. I had my car paid off. My credit ratio was great. I was a poster child for someone who should be very sought after to give a credit card to. So I did the application, and I followed up a couple weeks later since I hadn't heard anything. I called in. They said they were going to send me a text to verify my identity, and then they would put me through to the next step. Well, the text never goes through. It's the same thing every time we've tried with Chase, whether it's his card, my card, him, me, same problem every single time. On the third try of calling back and saying, what's the status of the application? They told me, hey, you might want to go into a branch and verify your identity in person. That way it'll go through quicker. I'm not sure why they didn't tell me to just do that off the bat if this was going to be a problem. But
we're telling you to do, if you want a Chase card, go straight to the bank, because you don't want to have that same story that Angie and I have.
Yeah, so I did that. I took my passport, my driver's license, my social security card, the deed to my house, the title to my car. I'm not exaggerating. I took all these documents with me, had the Chase employee verify my identity. He called into the credit card branch of Chase. Everything was good. I left there feeling like it was about to come to an end and I was going to have my credit card. Weeks later, still nothing. And I called back again, had the same deal with, we're going to send you a code. And then I said, that's not going to work. I told them I've been through it a bunch of times. And then at that point, they said, well, you might want to go into the branch and identify in person, take all of your documents. So at that point, I kind of lost a little bit because I'd already done all of that with all of those documents I mentioned. So I just wasn't sure if I was ever going to get this card. Eventually, it did work out, but I can't tell you how time consuming and just stressful and frustrating the whole process was. So at this point, I'm about to bow out.
Oh,
because I can't fade Chase with that story. I am Amex for life, baby. So I might pop in a little bit later, but probably not. So Jim's going to tell you all of the details about this.
Listen, it took of me a lot just to get her for 2 seconds after the IHG experience.
I did not want to be part of this.
All right. Well, I love you. I'll call you back.
See ya.
Bye. Let's move on. I won't keep you in suspense because regardless of customer service, the best transferable currency is Amex. And in fact, if you're in a situation where you're not a full-time traveler like us, and you're only traveling enough to warrant one universe and you don't live in a hub that kind of dictates it should be Chase, the one universe you should be in is Amex. Let's talk about, in so many categories, let's talk about subscriber bonuses. 150,000 points that Joey got for his Amex Platinum. That is just awesome. And a lot of times we can get better. In this situation, though, you want to go in reverse order. You want to get the Amex Gold first, because if you sign up for Amex Platinum first, you don't get Amex Gold. That's why I personally don't have the Amex Gold, and that's an Angie tree to complete. Amex Gold is particularly amazing if you are preparing for full-time travel because it is such a powerhouse on points earning. First of all, you get a sign-up bonus of 90,000 or 100,000 points, and that's for usually about $6,000 minimum spend. But the difference is with Amex Gold, you get 6 months to spend that. So that's only $1,000 a month on your credit card, and you're getting 4 times points for groceries, 4 times points for dining, 3 times points for flights. So you can really explode the points. Of course, once you get the Amex Platinum, it's 5 times points for flights, so you want to switch paying for that. But you'll still be paying for groceries and dining with Amex Gold. It's particularly valuable when you're back home in the United States. The Amex Platinum, we're going to put the benefits on here. They are too much to name. They do change. You get an alert every week in your email. These are the new Amex benefits, and sometimes you jump right on them. There's a limit, somebody pointed out, to the amount of benefits that you can sign up for with Amex. Yeah, there is, but the limit is 100. If you ran into a problem because you needed more than 100 of the Amex benefits, come ahead and tell me. Now, when I show people all of the benefits that you're probably looking at right now or you just looked at, it seems too good to be true. How could Amex offer all this huge discounts, all these free stuff? People that understand business have explained to me what the reason is. I'm going to share it with you. There's a standard rule. 80% of your business, no matter what your business is, comes from 20% of your customers. So the question is, what customers do you want? Amex Platinum customers are the most valuable customers in the entire world. Why? Because the average Amex Platinum owner has an annual income of almost $500,000 a year. So businesses fall all over themselves to court these customers. When you have the Amex Platinum, think about it like you're like that pretty girl in high school or college, or I guess at work, that all the guys are buying gifts for, hoping to win her favor. You get to be a pretty girl. Isn't that exciting? Now, it is a $695 fee, but once again, don't be afraid of it. I already mentioned we got the $240 in streaming. We did this incredible deal with the Hilton hotels. We're going to do this in Cancun. We have to go to Cancun for Angie to get her other surgery. We have some videos up there about getting dental work done in Cancun, but normally we would not stay at a 5-star all-inclusive. It's $1,000, but once a year, you get $200 off on one of these fine luxury hotels for Hilton. You can double it up. You can do one Hilton and one other one. And we waited to make the reservation till 1 week. American Express had 15% cash back on Expedia. So we booked the Hilton through Expedia and wound up getting $350 off of the $1,000. And it's all you can eat, all you can drink. It is really great. You get $200 in Uber. You get $200 in airline credits that you can use for baggage or drinks or Wi-Fi. It is an absolute great deal. As I said, you also get the global entry. You can get Clear. We haven't done that yet, just out of total laziness. But the real thing to get Amex in terms of them courting your customers are so many people will give you status just for having the card. We will get a free upgrade at the 5-star all-inclusive luxury Hilton just because of the fact that we have gold status with them from having Amex Platinum. It's the same thing with Marriott Bonvoy. Automatic gold status. If you've seen our Vegas videos, we've gotten a lot of upgrades for that. It also works for rental cars. Hertz, Avis, and National all give elite status just for having the card. Now we're going to talk about the real situations where it really sets itself apart from the Chase universe. Start with the Cruise Privileges program. Next week's video is going to be all about how we have figured out this system to book the best absolute positive deals on cruises. We've got a system. We're going to show you doing it and everything. I'm telling you, you will be incredulous at what a good deal it is. Normally, travel portals, a lot of people talk about the Chase Travel portal where you can get 50% more points, but other people will tell you that they continued to look on Expedia, particularly if you have status in Expedia like we do, and they got a better deal even with the 50% bonus points. With the Cruise Privileges, our system shows you how you can make sure that you get the best deal on the Cruise Privileges. Amazon, it recently came in the news. This is like 2 days before we tape this, so like maybe 4 days before you watch it. Amazon has started changing their vaunted free returns, and they're putting restrictions on them, including charging you for the shipping for the free returns. So it obviously is not cheap or free. Amex will give you up to $300 reimbursement. If they won't reimburse you, Amex Platinum will reimburse $300 for one item up to $1,000 a year. So that's a nice comfort zone. And then, of course, the other information thing that people don't know about on Amex is that you can get the around the world trip. People dismissed the around the world trip when it was first announced because ANA doesn't have any transfer partners. And what happened was, yeah, Southeast Asia is you can get hotels for better deals, but the main reason is the incomes are so much lower in Southeast Asia. So even though they were giving this incredible deal where you could fly around the world for 105,000 points, nobody could afford it. So ANA wound up signing up Amex for a transfer partner. So to be able to fly around for 6 months business class for 105,000 points each is just absolutely astonishing. They even give you ground transportation for up to 4 of those stops. So you go to Europe, let's say you go to Rome, you fly business class, they will pay for your ground transportation to the hotel, they'll pay for you to get back to the airport, then you fly to Kuala Lumpur and they will give you ground transportation to your hotel and back. You can do that up to 4 times. The maximum amount of points on that is 170,000, but that's really only if you're including Australia, just because that is such a long trip. If you want us to do a video just on the around the world trip, let us know, because that is our plan for 2026. Customer service, really, American Express is as good as Chase is bad. And I guess at this age, that's just something I really value. When we stayed in Milan and we put those videos up, we stayed at a 5-star super fancy hotel. And then we stayed at a hotel that had been around for 100 years and was not fancy, but the customer service was way better. And we really enjoyed that hotel so much better. That's our attitude. If that's yours as well, I think American Express is the way to go. So the bottom line is you may want to do both. If you can only choose one, I would do American Express. If you're doing both, for sure, I guess I would start with Chase because it's 524. But if it starts to get too frustrating, just dip on over to American Express and start that whole thing. So I want to know from you. Do you want some clarifications and stuff? What did we leave out? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Like I say, we answer all of your questions, and let us know which aspect of this you would like us to do a deeper dive with on a video. The 4 chains, you're the chain gangers, you're what supports us. So we definitely want to put out the videos that you want to do. We will respond to your comments, and we will see you next time on the 4 Chains Travel, baby.